Hello, my name is Joshua Mugabe. I welcome you to Protozoan Diseases. Which is the kingdom of the parasites that cause malaria and Chagas disease? Those diseases are caused by protozoans, beings of the kingdom Protista. What is the scientific name of the etiological agent of Chagas disease? The etiological agent of Chagas disease is Trypanosoma cruzi. The name cruzi was given in honor of a Brazilian doctor, Oswaldo Cruz. The disease was named after a Brazilian doctor, Carlos Chagas. Under which form is the Trypanosoma cruzi found in its host? In the definite host, as well as triatomine bags, that is the intermediate hosts, the protozoans that cause Chagas disease alternate mastigotes or flagellates. The mastigotes forms and also intermediate forms between these forms. What is the vector of Chagas disease? How is the disease transmitted? The vector of Chagas disease is its intermediate host, the triatomine bag. The main species is Triatoma infestans. Hemipteran insects like triatomines have sucking mouthparts that can be used to suck blood from animals and organic fruits of plants. The vector of Chagas disease are hematophagous hemipterans that have nocturnal habits. The blood-sucking bugs become infected when they bite a contaminated person. The parasite then multiply within the bug gut and eliminated in its feces. When the contaminated triatomine bites a person, it defecates near the bite site and releases the protozoans, can penetrate into the definite host through mucosa or through the bite wound. Wild and domestic animals can also be vessels for the disease. What is the life cycle of Trypanosoma cruzi? Trypanosoma cruzi is a heteroxenous parasite. That is, it has intermediate host, the triatomine bug, and a definitive host, the human. Triatomine bug become infected by sucking blood of a contaminated person. Within the bug gut, the protozoans produces itself. When the triatomine bites another person, it defecates near the bite site. Generally, the bitten person itches the area of the bite, and the parasite gains accumulation of the definitive host. Within human, Trypanosoma cruzi multiply as mastigotes form in the cardiac muscle tissue or in the nervous tissue, forming pseudocysts. The pseudocysts break, releasing flagellate parasites into the circulation, and the cycle is repeated. What is the incubation period of an infection? The incubation period is the time interval between infection by the agent that causes the disease and the first sign or symptoms of the disease. What is the average incubation period of Chaga disease? What are some signs and symptoms of the acute phase of Chaga disease? Chaga disease may or may not present acute phase. When it is present, the incubation period is about 5 to 14 days. The chronic phase, however, can manifest in more than 10 years after the infection. At the site where the trypanosoma has penetrated, the skin or the mucosa becomes swollen, the sign known as chagoma. Another sign is that it may appear in up to 20% of cases after the infection is the Romaner's sign, a swelling of one of the eyelids when infection took place through the ocular route. The acute Chaga disease fever, malaise, inflammation and enlargement of the lymph node may occur. In more severe cases, fatal inflammation of the cardiac muscle and of the meninges may happen. In the long term, which are the organs affected by the chronic Chaga disease? In the chronic phase of the Chaga disease that manifests years after infection, trypanosoma infests the muscles of the heart, causing insufficient blood pumping, pulmonary edema, and increase in the size of the organ, what we call cardiomegaly. This is the cardiac infection or manifestation of the Chaga disease. The main symptoms that appear are dyspnea, cough, cardiac arrhythmias. In the digestive form of manifestation of the disease, the parasite destroys cells of the autonomic nervous system responsible for peristaltism of the digestive tube. Since the motility of the esophagus and intestine is reduced, the transit of materials inside the organs is impaired and they increase in size. Condition respectively known as megaesophagus and megacolon. The symptoms are dysphagia, impaired swallowing, constipation, flatulence, and formation of fecaroma, accumulation of feces inside the bowels. What is prophylaxis? Prophylaxis are measures taken to prevent diseases. For example, use of condoms in sexual relations is a prophylaxis against contamination by agents that cause STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. What are the etiological agents of malaria? The etiological agent of malaria are protozoans of the genus Plasmodium. There are 4 different types of Plasmodium that causes malaria. Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, and Plasmodium ovale. What are the human tissues affected by malaria? What are the main clinical manifestations of the disease? Plasmodium infects the human blood, causing the destruction of the red blood cells, and it also affects the liver. Malaria characterizes the periodical episode of fevers, chills, and sweating that can be accompanied by headaches, nausea, vomiting, and jaundice. The destruction of the red blood cell may lead to anemia and hypoxemia. The infection by Plasmodium falciparum if not treated, can cause other complications and even death. What is the vector of malaria? How different is its behavior from the behavior of the vector of dengue fever? The vector of malaria is a mosquito of genus Anopheles, also called Anopheline. In opposition to the mosquito vector of the dengue fever, the Anopheline has a nocturnal habit. What are the intermediate and definite hosts of the Plasmodium? In the life cycle of the Plasmodium, humans are the intermediate hosts, where asexual reproduction takes place, and the vector mosquito is the definite host, where sexual reproduction takes place. What is the life cycle of the Plasmodium vivax? The vector mosquito bites a contaminated person and ingests female and male gametocytes of the parasites. Within the insect gut, the gametocytes differentiate into gametes, and fecundation occurs, forming zygotes. Each Plasmodium zygote, by mitosis sporogamy, generates numerous infective sporozoids that migrate to the salivary glands of the mosquito. When the mosquito bites a person, the sporozoids enter the human circulation, and when in the liver, they undergo the second asexual reproduction, tissue schizogamy, releasing several melozoites into the blood. The melozoites infest the red blood cells, where the second asexual reproduction of the cycle, erythroschizogamy, and production of many other parasites occur. Some of these parasites differentiate into gametocytes. The red blood cells then break hemolysis. The parasites are released into the blood, and the cycle can be repeated. To which phase of the Plasmodium life cycle do the typical chills and fever of malaria correspond? The typical chills and fever episode of malaria corresponds to the phase when the red blood cells are destroyed after the erythrocytic schizosome of the Plasmodium life cycle. What are the main prophylactic measures against malaria? The main preventive measures against malaria are elimination of the vector mosquito, treatment of infected people, avoidance of mosquito bites, formation of travelers, information for travelers to endemic areas, and use of preventative medicine. What are other important human diseases caused by protozoans? Some other important protozoan infections are amoeboiosis, giardiosis, trichomoniasis, leishmaniasis, toxoplasmosis, meningoencephalitis by free-living amoebas. What is the etiological agent of amoebiosis? How is it transmitted, and what are the typical manifestations of the disease? Amoebiosis is caused by a protozoan Entamoeba histolytica, or simply amoeba. Transmission of the disease is oral-fecal through contaminated water and food by insects like cockroaches and flies. Amoeba parasites the intestine of humans generally in the symptomatic manner, but it can sometimes cause enteritis with diarrhea and severe dysentery, abdominal pain, weight loss, and anemia. In rare case, extraintestinal invasion may occur affecting the liver, skin, genital organs, and other organs. What are the parasites that cause giardiasis? How is it transmitted, and what are the typical manifestations of the disease? Giardiasis is a protozoal infection caused by Giardia labrea, or simply Giardia, a flagellate protozoan. Transmission is fecal-oral through contaminated water and food, or carried by insects like cockroach and flies. Giardiasis manifests like amoebiosis as an enteritis with diarrhea, abdominal pain, lost weight, and anemia. What is trichomoniasis? Why is it classified under an STD? Trichomoniasis is an extraintestinal protozoan infection caused by Trichomonas vaginales, a flagellate protozoan. The parasite infects the urinary tract of males and females. In females, it causes discharge, pain, and itching. Trichomoniasis is an STD because it is mainly made of transmission is sexual intercourse. What are the main manifestations of leishmaniasis? There are two main forms of leishmaniasis: cutaneous leishmaniasis and visceral leishmaniasis, also known as Kara-Aza. The form is determined by the species of infective leishmania by the immune system of the host. What is the etiological agent of the cutaneous leishmaniasis? How is the disease transmitted? And what are the typical manifestations? The etiological agent of cutaneous leishmaniasis is the protozoa Leishmania brasiliensis. Transmission like the varicella form and disorderly form of the disease is by bite of the sandfly, Lutzmeyer, named after Brazilian scientist Adolf Lutz, the vector host. Cutaneous leishmaniasis develops in bite site where the parasite establishes itself. The skin wound has a volcanic crater shape and reddish injury with elevated borders. From the primary lesion, the parasites can also spread through the blood to infected person or infected through the blood to affect the areas, mainly the mucosa of the nose, the mouth, pharynx, causing facial deformation. What is the etiological agent of varicella leishmaniasis? How is the disease transmitted and what are the typical manifestations? Varicella leishmaniasis is caused by a protozoan Leishmania donovi. Transmission is similar to cutaneous leishmaniasis by bite of sandflies. Affected organs generally are the liver, spleen, and bone marrow. The patient often has fever, weight loss, splenomegaly, hypertrophy of the spleen, anemia, decreased accounts of leukemia and platelets. These may cause death. What is the parasite that causes toxoplasmosis? How is the disease transmitted and what are the typical manifestations? Toxoplasmosis is caused by protozoan Toxoplasma gondii aspergillosis. Toxoplasmosis is a disease transmitted by cats, which are definitive hosts of the parasite. Cats eliminate toxoplasmosis in feces, and the oocysts are extremely resistant and remain viable for months in the environment. Human beings are infected when ingesting water and food contaminated with oocysts, and when making contacts, obtain objective content. Human can also become infected by eating meat or animal like pork, cow, and sheep, which are known to be intermediate host to vertical transmission from the mother to the offspring may also occur. In toxoplasmosis, the cystic form of the parasite invades the tissue of the body, including the brain and the retina. The infestation also potentially fatal. The congenital toxoplasmosis, the child may present blindness and mental retardation. The disease is especially severe when occurring as an adult opportunistic disease in AIDS patients. Thank you very much for participating in Protozoan Diseases. Please do like, share, and subscribe.